Portovenere is a hidden gem right next to the world-famous Cinque Terre. This charming small town has captivated many artists and poets, including Lord Byron, and the entire area was nicknamed the Gulf of Poets. No wonder that due to its unique scenic beauty, cultural landscape and historic value, Porto Venere was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and as a tour guide, I can't wait to show you the best things to do in Porto Venere, Italy. Beautiful old town on the very tip of the Gulf of La Spezia is still completely surrounded by defensive town walls. Its colorful waterfront houses were designed as a defensive system as they were built as a series of tall towers to form a defensive wall around the town. The historic center is accessible through its main town gate known as Porta del Borgo that has remained intact since the 12th century. Above the arch of the gates is an inscription declaring Porto Venere as part of the Republic of Genoa since 1113, as the Republic ruled this town for almost 700 years. Left from the gates is a medieval tower, part of Genovese defensive system that also includes defensive walls with towers running uphill all the way to the castle. In front of the town gates is a beautiful round square with restaurants and bars. The gates lead to the main shopping street known as Carugio. This is a backbone of the old town as the street runs along its entire length. Pedestrian-only street has most shops in Porto Venere. It is lined by ancient colorful houses with small shops, artisanal boutiques and restaurants. Here you can find handmade pottery, shoes, jewelry and delicious focaccia among many other things. If you're looking for typical food products, then you cannot miss shops selling extra virgin olive oil and basil products. A must-buy is a delicious fresh pesto, one of the region's most famous exports. The street runs through the entire town to the very tip of the peninsula, where on a rocky edge stands the Church of St. Peter. Porto Venere has been a destination for elite tourism for over a century, but despite its seafront location, it is not exactly a beach resort. Instead, the area is famous for its spectacular hiking trails, diving opportunities and sea caves. Still, there are some lovely beaches and bays where you can swim and sunbathe. As you enter Porto Venere, you'll see a public cove known as Spaggia dell'Olivio. Here you can sunbathe and swim in front of the mussel plantations. You have a choice of a free beach or private beach clubs. A popular spot for sunbathing is also a pier opposite to the colorful houses of the old town. Another option for a swim is the rocky area around Lord Byron's cave. But the best beaches in Porto Venere can be found on Palmaria, a small island right opposite to the old town, famous for its white sand and crystal clear water. Small channel separates the island from Porto Venere and can be crossed by taxi boat. Palmaria is the biggest of the three islands, forming an archipelago that is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The island has a triangular shape. The sides that face Porto Venere slopes gently to the sea, while the side that faces towards the open sea features high cliffs with caves overhanging the water. The outer two islands are smaller. The middle, Tino Island, has a lighthouse and is a military zone. Tiny Tineto Island is little more than a rock. Just in front of the tiny island emerges from the water a statue of Madonna Stella Maris with folded hands towards the open sea. The best way to see the three islands is to take about a 50-minute tour around the archipelago. Along the way, you'll also pass an interesting fortress rising from the sea known as Scola Tower. The pentagonal tower with 10 cannons was built as part of a defensive system of the Gulf by the Republic of Genoa. There are several boat tours available, starting from one of the piers of Porto Venere. They run daily between April and November. One of the greatest English poets of all time, Lord Byron, loved the Gulf of Poets. This was his favorite meditation spot, and there are many stories revolving around his time in Porto Venere. In Lord Byron's time, this pile of rock used to be a cave where he often spent time meditating and drawing inspiration for his works. At the rocky tip of the town, look for the doors in the defensive walls. There are rocky steps leading all the way to the sea. Right under the small fort are the remains of a collapsed Lord Byron's cave. It's easy to see why Lord Byron loved this beautiful but rough and rocky area. It is full of rocky terraces offering fantastic view. On one of them, you can find a bronze statue of Mother Nature gazing to the sea. Above the Porto Venere rises one of the town's main buildings, a parish church of St. Lawrence. It can be reached along the steep vaulted stairways called capitoli. Built with blocks of local black marble, it was consecrated in 1130 by the Pope himself. In the 1500s, it underwent restoration works and got today's shape. Above the main entrance is a depiction of St. Lawrence being martyred on the gridiron. The church also holds a painting of Virgin Mary known for the glow of her skin, and the church has become known as the Sanctuary of the White Madonna. Painting depicts Mary seated on a throne with the infant Jesus holding a scroll of paper and is connected to a miracle dating back to a summer night in 1399. At the time, most citizens were not devoted to Mary, but a man known as Luciardo was praying in front of a Madonna icon. In the room was also an older painting, blackened by time. Painting arrived in the village from the sea in a Lebanon cedar trunk that is still kept in the church. Engaged in prayer, Luciardo noticed that the old blackened picture was slowly gaining color. Amazed, he looked at the drawings changing shape. Finally, the hands of the Madonna clasped, and a scroll of paper appeared in the hands of baby Jesus with a writing inviting everyone to pray and to convert. Right above the church rises a mighty Doria Castle. Overlooking the town and the Gulf, the fortress is one of the great examples of Genovese military architecture. A highly strategic citadel in its time was rebuilt by the Republic of Genoa, as once this was the center of the struggles between Genoa and Pisa for the conquest of the surrounding lands. An ancient fortress already existed before, in the 1100s, the Republic of Genoa gained control of Porto Venere. In the second half of the 15th century, Genoa decided to demolish the castle and rebuild it with the most modern architectural and military standards. The work was completed in the 17th century when the castle got its current appearance. The ancient Genoese fortress is now property of the municipality of Porto Venere and is home of art exhibitions and various other events. Aside from admiring the fine construction, there isn't much to see inside, but the views from the terraced gardens are magnificent. Leaning to the town's fortress is also a cemetery with spectacular views. Further down the hill are two round towers, the remains of the two windmills offering one of the best views of the most distinct landmark of Porto Venere. A spectacular rocky cliff that dominates the sea entrance to Porto Venere is topped by the medieval Roman Catholic Church of St. Peter and a small fortress. The Gothic-style church was built upon a Roman temple dedicated to the goddess Venus, born from the foam of the sea, from whom Porto Venere takes its name. Church was consecrated in the 1100s, but its famous black and white bands on the walls were added by the Republic of Genoa in the 1200s. The Gothic interior of the church is very modest and decorated with black and white marble horizontal stripes. The church has been part of important historic events like Aragonese bombardment in the 1400s, the occupation by the Austrian and Russian troops, and lastly, the disastrous period of Napoleon as he used the church as a battery for the defense. Attached to the church is a viewing terrace offering gorgeous views. Right next to it is another attached structure, a Romanesque loggia with beautiful window overlooking the sea. The church is open daily, though entrance may be restricted on Sundays and religious holidays, but admission is free. On the highest point, right next to the church, is also a small fortress, and the entire rocky cliff is still surrounded by defensive walls pierced with few windows, framing spectacular views. Nestled between the Ligurian Sea with Palmeria Island and a row of tall, colorful tower houses known as Palazzata is a picturesque Porto Venere promenade. Colorful houses with tiny windows have no alleys, as 7- and 8-story fortified houses are densely packed to each other to function as fortifications. They have been built into the rock with internal staircases connecting the seafront with the main street at the back. The seafront promenade is filled with outdoor restaurants and bars, and next to it is a small and charming marina. This is the main meeting point of the town, where tourists, sailors and locals go for a drink, a meal and a relaxed evening stroll. Porto Venere is also a perfect starting point to visit spectacular Cinque Terre, so be sure to check the description below where you'll find my favorite tours and experiences of the area. My name is Rock, thanks for the thumbs up and for watching, and see you next time.